Every great journey begins with a single step, but most people never realize how powerful that one small step can be. We often dream of success, imagine a better version of ourselves, or set huge goals that seem almost impossible to reach, and because the mountain looks too high, many give up before even starting the climb. But what if I told you that greatness is not built overnight? That true change doesn't come from one big moment, but from hundreds of small, quiet actions that no one else sees. Welcome to The Power of Tiny Steps, an audiobook that will open your eyes to how the smallest decisions can completely transform your life. Here you'll learn how consistency, discipline, and focus on the little things can create massive results over time. This is not about sudden motivation or overnight transformation. It's about building habits that lead to lasting success. One day, one action, and one decision at a time. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe to this channel if you're serious about your personal growth and success. Each audiobook here is designed to help you unlock your potential, one chapter at a time. If you listen carefully and apply what you learn, you'll begin to see change faster than you think. Not because you're doing more, but because you're doing the right things, consistently. Now, take a deep breath. Forget about the finish line for a moment. Don't think about how far you have to go. Just focus on this step, this moment. Because this is where success truly begins.
Let's dive into Chapter 1, where we'll discover the secret behind why small actions matter more than big dreams, and how to use that truth to build unstoppable momentum in your life.
Chapter 1. The Hidden Power of Small Actions. We all want big results. We all dream of success, happiness, confidence, and freedom. But here's the truth that most people ignore. Big results are built on small actions repeated over time. The most successful people in the world don't have some secret magic or endless motivation. They simply understand that every little step matters. Think about it. Every mountain is made of tiny rocks. Every ocean is made of drops of water. Every strong person you see today started out weak, uncertain, and scared. What changed their life wasn't one massive decision. It was a series of small, intentional actions that compounded over time. Let's imagine two people. Both want to change their lives. The first one gets inspired, sets huge goals, and starts working intensely for a few days. But soon, the excitement fades. The effort feels too big. They stop. The second person doesn't aim for huge change. They just start with one small, manageable step, maybe 5 minutes of reading each day, or one short walk, or writing a single page. It doesn't look impressive at first. But days pass, then weeks, then months, and before long, that small daily effort grows into something massive. That's the power of tiny steps. They seem invisible at first, but over time they transform everything. You see, most people overestimate what they can do in a week and underestimate what they can do in a year. We live in a world obsessed with speed and shortcuts. Everyone wants to be successful now. But success doesn't belong to the fastest. It belongs to the most consistent. The person who takes small steps every day will always go further than the one who runs hard for a short time and burns out. Tiny steps work because they build momentum. When you do something small and repeat it, it becomes a habit. Habits shape your identity, and identity determines your destiny. You start to see yourself differently, not as someone who tries, but as someone who does. Think about brushing your teeth. You don't need motivation to do it. You just do it because it's a habit. Now imagine building the same kind of automatic routine for reading, exercising, planning your day, or learning a skill. You wouldn't have to fight yourself to improve. Improvement would simply happen because of who you've become. Here's a secret most people miss. Small habits aren't just actions. They're votes for the person you want to become. Each time you make your bed, you cast a vote for being organized. Each time you go for a short run, you vote for being healthy. Each time you write one paragraph, you vote for being a writer. The power lies not in the single vote, but in the accumulation of many votes over time. Let's pause for a second and think about how you live your day. How many small things do you do without noticing? Scrolling on your phone, skipping breakfast, delaying one task, watching just one more video. None of these seem harmful on their own, but like small steps forward can change your life, small steps backward can destroy it. You are either moving closer to your goals or drifting further away, and it all depends on the small actions you repeat every day. The beautiful thing about tiny steps is that they're easy to start. You don't have to be perfect. You don't need to wait for the right time. You just need to begin. And once you start, your brain begins to rewire itself. Progress, no matter how small, releases dopamine, a chemical that makes you feel good. That's why momentum feels powerful. One good action gives energy for the next one. Soon, you're not forcing yourself to change. You want to change. Let's look at a simple example. Imagine you want to get in shape. Most people make a huge plan. They buy new gym clothes, create strict diets, and try to work out 2 hours a day. After a week it's too hard, and they quit. But what if instead you start with something tiny? Maybe 5 push-ups every morning. It seems small, even silly. But if you do that every day, you're teaching your brain to identify as someone who exercises. Over time, 5 push-ups turn into 10, then 20, then a full workout. That's how habits grow, small and steady. Small steps also protect you from fear. When you think about big goals, fear shows up. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of not being enough. But when you focus on a tiny step, fear loses power. You can't be afraid of writing 1 sentence. You can't be overwhelmed by reading 2 pages. Tiny actions make the impossible feel possible again. There's a story about a writer who wanted to finish a novel but always felt stuck. One day, he promised himself to write just 1 sentence a day. That's it. 1 sentence. It felt manageable. Some days he wrote only that. Other days, he wrote a full chapter. But what mattered was that he showed up daily. After a year, he had finished the book. That's what small steps can do. They move you forward even when you don't feel ready. If you ever feel like you're not making progress, remember this: the seed doesn't grow the day it's planted. Growth happens underground, unseen. Your small efforts might not show results right away, but they are building something powerful beneath the surface. One day, it all bursts into the light, and people call it overnight success. But you'll know the truth, that success was built slowly, patiently, 1 tiny step at a time. So, how can you start using this power right now? Begin with something that matters to you: your health, your learning, your relationships, your mindset. Then ask yourself, what's 1 tiny step I can take today that moves me in the right direction? Not a perfect step, not a huge step, just a small one you can do easily, and then repeat it tomorrow, and the day after. Remember, it's not about how fast you move, but how consistently you move. Every great achievement you admire was once just a dream, then a plan, then a series of small steps. The key is to trust the process and stay patient, because tiny steps, when repeated with purpose, can take you further than giant leaps made with doubt. Now, as we move to the next chapter, we'll explore how consistency turns these small actions into unstoppable habits, the kind that shape your identity and lead you toward lasting success. Chapter 2: The Science of Consistency. Success doesn't happen because of one big effort. It happens because of small, consistent actions repeated over time. The people who seem unstoppable aren't always the smartest or the most talented. They are simply the most consistent. They show up when others quit. They keep going when others lose motivation. And that single difference changes everything. Consistency is not about doing something perfectly every day. It's about showing up no matter what, even when you don't feel like it. Even when progress feels invisible, every time you repeat an action, you're sending a signal to your brain: this is who I am now. That's how habits form, And that's how success grows quietly beneath the surface. Think about a farmer planting seeds. He doesn't dig them up every morning to check if they're growing. He just keeps watering, keeps caring, keeps trusting the process. For weeks, nothing happens. But one day, tiny green shoots appear. That's exactly how consistency works in life. The results come late, but they come strong. Your brain loves patterns. Every time you repeat a task, your brain builds neural connections that make the action easier the next time. At first, new habits feel hard because your brain is learning something unfamiliar. But as you stay consistent, those neural pathways become stronger. Like carving a path through a forest. The more you walk that path, the clearer it becomes. Eventually, it's effortless. Consistency is stronger than motivation, because motivation is emotional and emotions change. One day you feel excited. The next day you feel tired or discouraged. If you depend on motivation, you'll never be reliable. But if you build discipline through consistency, you'll act even when motivation disappears. That's when real growth begins. Let's take an example. Imagine someone learning to play guitar. In the beginning, their fingers hurt, the chords sound messy, and the rhythm feels impossible. After a week, they're frustrated and tempted to quit. But if they keep practicing 15 minutes every day, something magical happens. The pain fades, the fingers learn the motion, the sound improves. One day, without realizing it, they're playing music beautifully. What changed? Not talent, not luck. Consistency. Most people give up right before the results appear. They expect progress to be fast and visible, but consistency works silently. It builds a foundation before it shows the outcome. That's why patience is part of success. Without patience, consistency feels boring. With patience, consistency feels powerful. You don't need to do everything at once. You just need to do something every day. Read a few pages, write a few lines, walk a few steps, learn a few words. Each small act adds up. Every repetition compounds. The magic of consistency is not in how much you do, but in how often you do it. One reason consistency works so well is because it removes decision fatigue. When you do something daily, your brain stops negotiating with you. It becomes automatic. You don't ask yourself, should I do this today? You simply do it. That's the secret behind successful people. They don't waste energy deciding. They just follow their systems. The problem is, most people chase intensity instead of consistency. They go all in for a few days and then stop. But being consistent beats being extreme. Working out for 10 minutes every day is better than 3 hours once a week. Writing one paragraph daily is better than waiting for a perfect time to write for hours. Small actions done regularly always beat big actions done rarely. Consistency also builds confidence. Every time you follow through on your promises to yourself, you strengthen your self-trust. You start believing, I can depend on me. That belief changes your entire identity. It shifts you from someone who dreams to someone who does. Confidence doesn't come from shouting affirmations. It comes from proof that you keep showing up. Think about people who seem highly disciplined. They're not superhuman. They've just trained their minds to stay consistent long enough to see results. Once they start seeing progress, that progress fuels their motivation. It becomes a loop. Consistency creates progress. Progress creates motivation. Motivation creates more consistency. But the hardest part is the beginning. The phase where results are invisible. That's when most people quit. They mistake slow progress for failure. But remember, consistency works like compound interest. In the beginning, growth feels small, almost flat. But with time, the curve rises sharply. The payoff is exponential. You don't get twice the reward for twice the effort. You get 10 times the reward for steady effort. So how can you build consistency in your own life? The answer is simple. Make the steps small enough that you can't fail. If your goal is to read more, start with 2 pages. If you want to exercise, start with 5 minutes. If you want to meditate, start with 1 minute. The goal is not to impress yourself, it's to build the habit of showing up. Once you've built that, you can expand naturally. Let's take another example. A man wanted to start running, but could never stay consistent. So instead of setting a goal to run daily, he set a smaller rule. He would simply put on his running shoes every morning. That's it. Some days he ran, some days he didn't, but the habit of putting on shoes became automatic. Eventually, running followed naturally. He tricked his brain into consistency through simplicity. That's what you need to do too. Start so small it feels ridiculous. Make it easy enough that you can't say no. Then repeat. The repetition is what reprograms your brain. Remember this truth. Consistency beats talent, motivation and luck. It's not the most gifted who win, it's the most consistent. Every small action done daily shapes your future quietly, while inconsistency destroys it loudly. You don't need to see the whole staircase to climb it. Just take the next step, then take it again tomorrow, and the next day. Eventually you'll look back and realize how far you've come. That's the power of consistency, the invisible force that turns small actions into massive results. In the next chapter, we'll explore how to build momentum, how tiny wins multiply your energy, motivation and belief, turning your small habits into unstoppable progress. Chapter 3. Building momentum, turning small wins into big progress. Every success story begins slowly, almost quietly. At first, progress feels invisible. You might feel like you're walking in circles, doing small things that don't seem to matter. But then something changes. One small win leads to another. The process speeds up. Suddenly, what once felt impossible begins to feel natural. That's the magic of momentum. Momentum is what happens when consistency meets progress. It's the invisible force that pushes you forward, even when you don't feel like moving. Once you start building it, things begin to flow. The same tasks that once took effort start to feel easier. The same goals that once seemed far away now look closer. Momentum transforms effort into energy. Think about pushing a heavy car. At first, it's hard to move. The car resists. It takes everything you have just to make it budge. But after a few seconds, it starts rolling, and once it moves, it gets easier to keep it going. That's how life works too. Starting is the hardest part, but once you've started, every small action builds speed, confidence, and belief. The problem is, most people quit before they feel momentum. They stop right before the process becomes easier. The first days, the first weeks, that's the test. The universe asks you, do you really want this? And most people answer by giving up. But those who stay consistent long enough to feel momentum never want to stop again. Momentum is built on wins, no matter how small. When you finish a workout, when you study for 10 minutes, when you choose discipline over comfort, those are victories. Each one strengthens your belief in yourself. Each one whispers, see, you can do it. That feeling of progress, even tiny progress, fuels motivation, and motivation fuels more progress. This is why small wins are so important. They're not meaningless. They're proof. Proof that you're growing. Proof that effort works. Proof that you're capable of more than you thought. Each small success gives your brain a dose of dopamine, a chemical that makes you feel good and reinforces the behavior that caused it. The more wins you experience, the more your brain starts to crave the process. You stop chasing results and start loving the work. Let's take an example. Imagine someone trying to wake up early. On the first day, it feels impossible. They're tired, irritated, and half asleep. But they do it anyway. The next day, it's still hard, but slightly easier. After a week, they start feeling proud. That pride fuels motivation. Soon, waking up early becomes part of who they are. The habit that once felt like punishment becomes a source of power. That's momentum in action. Momentum is not magic, it's math. One small improvement builds on another. Think of compound interest. You don't notice the growth at first, but it accelerates over time. If you improve by just 1% each day, that might sound small, but over a year, that's more than 37 times better than when you started. That's the compound effect of small habits multiplied by momentum. Momentum also changes your identity. You stop saying, "I'm trying to be disciplined." Instead, you say, "I am disciplined." You stop hoping for motivation and start trusting your consistency. You become the kind of person who gets things done, not because of inspiration, but because of momentum. There's another important thing to understand about momentum. It can work in both directions. Positive momentum pulls you upward, but negative momentum pulls you down. Skipping one day makes skipping the next day easier. Breaking one promise makes breaking the next one feel normal. That's why protecting your momentum is crucial. Here's a rule to remember. Never miss twice. If you skip one day, get back on track the next day. Don't let small breaks turn into full stops. Progress doesn't require perfection. It only requires persistence. The goal is not to be flawless, but to keep moving forward. Momentum is fragile in the beginning. It needs attention. It needs belief. When you start, it's like lighting a small flame. It can easily go out if you stop feeding it, but if you protect it, it becomes a fire that burns on its own. You just have to survive the early phase, the part where you don't yet feel the results. That's where most people fail. Let's imagine another story. A young woman wanted to build confidence. She decided to do one small thing every day that scared her. The first few days were tough. Talking to strangers, speaking up in meetings, saying no when she usually said yes. Each time her heart raced, but after a month she noticed something. The fear didn't feel the same. It was smaller, weaker. Her confidence had grown. That's what momentum does. It shrinks your fears while strengthening your courage. Momentum also brings clarity. When you take consistent action, even small ones, life starts to organize itself around your goals. You begin to attract opportunities that match your effort. You start to see possibilities that weren't visible before. Action creates motion, and motion creates perspective. You can't steer a parked car. You have to start moving first. But remember this: momentum can't survive without consistency, and consistency can't survive without purpose. You need a reason to keep going. You need to remind yourself why you started, because there will be days when progress feels slow, and the only thing that keeps you moving will be your sense of purpose. If you ever feel stuck, start smaller. Action creates energy. Don't wait for inspiration to move. Move first, and inspiration will follow. That's how momentum is born, not from waiting for the perfect moment, but from creating motion in imperfect conditions. Every great person you admire, athletes, entrepreneurs, artists, they all talk about flow, that state where everything feels effortless, where time disappears. But flow doesn't come to beginners. It comes to those who've built enough momentum to move without thinking. You earn flow by staying consistent through the hard parts. Momentum is what transforms practice into passion. It's what makes success feel inevitable. Once you've built it, it carries you forward like a wave. The effort that once drained you now energizes you. That's the turning point. So, how do you build unstoppable momentum? Start by setting small, achievable goals. Celebrate your wins, no matter how small. Track your progress. Seeing improvement fuels belief. Stay consistent long enough for the process to take over. And most importantly, never underestimate how far one small action can lead when done repeatedly. The truth is, momentum is not about speed. It's about direction. As long as you're moving forward, even slowly, you're winning. In the next chapter, we'll explore how to keep that momentum alive by mastering focus and eliminating distractions, so that nothing can pull you away from your goals once you've started moving. Chapter 4. The Focus Factor. Protecting your energy and attention. Imagine standing in the middle of a storm, winds howling, dust swirling, voices shouting from every direction. That's what modern life feels like. Notifications buzz, messages demand your attention, distractions are endless. Everyone wants a piece of your time, and before you realize it, your energy is scattered everywhere. You start your day with big plans, but by evening you wonder where all your focus went. Focus is the silent superpower that most people never master. It's the ability to direct your attention fully, intentionally, toward what truly matters. Without it, even the smartest goals fall apart. But when you learn to protect and sharpen your focus, everything changes. You become faster, calmer, and more effective. Focus turns ordinary effort into extraordinary results. Here's the truth. Success doesn't belong to the busiest people. It belongs to the most focused ones. Focus is like sunlight. When it spreads out, it's warm, but when you concentrate it through a magnifying glass, it can start a fire. The same is true with your energy. You can either scatter it across 100 meaningless tasks, or channel it into a few things that actually move you forward. Think about your phone. You can't run too many apps at once without draining the battery. The same goes for your brain. Every time you switch tasks, you lose mental energy. Researchers call this attention residue. When you jump between tasks, checking messages, switching tabs, scrolling social media, your brain doesn't fully switch over. Part of your focus stays stuck on what you were just doing. Over time, your attention gets weaker, your thoughts blur, and you lose momentum. The key to success is not doing more, it's doing what matters most, with full attention. Let's look at an example. Imagine a student trying to study for an exam while texting friends, watching videos, and checking social media. They might spend hours studying, but their focus is broken every few minutes. Then imagine another student who studies for just 1 hour with total focus, phone off, notifications muted, environment quiet. That one focused hour is worth more than 3 distracted ones. In the world of high performers, focus is a weapon. Top athletes, successful entrepreneurs, great artists, they all have one thing in common: they know how to protect their attention. They treat it like gold because they understand how rare and valuable it is. The world will always try to steal your focus. Every app, every ad, every platform is fighting for it. The question is, who wins? You or the distractions? If you want to master focus, you need to start by protecting your attention, like your life depends on it, because in a way it does. The quality of your focus determines the quality of your life. So how do you strengthen your focus in a distracted world? Start by identifying what drains your attention. Distractions aren't just digital. They can be emotional, physical, or mental. Maybe it's your phone, maybe it's negative people, maybe it's clutter in your environment or chaos in your mind. You can't fix what you don't notice, so awareness is step one. Once you know what pulls you away, start designing your environment for deep work. Turn off unnecessary notifications. Keep your workspace clean. Use noise-canceling headphones or calming background sounds. When it's time to focus, remove every friction point that tempts your mind to wander. Then, set clear boundaries for your attention. Time block your day. Choose specific hours for work, rest, and recreation. Don't mix them. If it's time to work, work completely. If it's time to rest, rest completely. Half working and half resting is the worst of both worlds. There's a concept called attention diet. Just like junk food ruins your body, junk information ruins your focus. Every time you scroll through meaningless posts or arguments online, you feed your brain noise instead of clarity. Protect your mental diet. Choose what you consume carefully. The information you feed your mind shapes how you think and how you feel. Focus also requires energy, mental and physical. You can't expect to concentrate if you're running on empty. Sleep well, eat clean, move your body. Exercise clears the mind and boosts memory. It's not just about health, it's about focus. Here's something few people realize: focus is a skill. It's trainable, just like a muscle. And like any muscle, it gets stronger with consistent practice. Start small. Try the single task rule. For 25 minutes, pick one thing, just one, and give it your complete attention. No multitasking, no checking messages, no wandering thoughts. When the timer ends, take a short break. That's it. Simple, but powerful. Over time, increase your focus session. The more you practice, the longer you can sustain deep concentration. You'll start noticing something amazing. Your mind becomes quieter. The constant urge to check your phone starts fading. You feel calmer, clearer, more in control. You stop reacting to distractions and start choosing your focus. That's when you gain true mental freedom. Another powerful method to sharpen focus is mindfulness. Being present in the moment, whether you're working, eating, or walking, trains your brain to stay where your body is. Meditation helps with this. You don't need hours, even 5 minutes a day can make a difference. It's not about silencing your thoughts. It's about learning to notice when your mind drifts and gently bringing it back. Remember this: distractions are not just stealing your time, they're stealing your potential. Every moment of lost focus is a moment you could have spent building something meaningful. There's also emotional focus. Sometimes your body is present, but your mind is replaying the past or worrying about the future. True focus means being emotionally centered. It means letting go of what you can't control and giving your full energy to what you can. One of the most effective habits for focus is having a clear why. When your purpose is strong, your attention naturally aligns. You stop chasing every shiny distraction because you know where you're going. That's why focus and purpose are deeply connected. Without purpose, focus fades. With purpose, focus becomes unshakable. Let's go back to a simple truth. You can't do everything, but you can do anything. If you focus on one thing at a time, life will always test your focus. There will always be something trying to pull you off track: fear, boredom, temptation. But the people who achieve greatness aren't those who never get distracted. They're the ones who notice the distraction and return to focus faster than anyone else. You don't need perfect focus. You just need recovery, the ability to come back when your mind wanders. Every time you bring it back, you strengthen it. Every moment you resist distraction, you train your discipline. In this distracted age, focus is rare, and what's rare is valuable. Mastering your attention will make you unstoppable, because once you can control your focus, you can control your direction. And when you control your direction, you control your destiny. So ask yourself right now, what deserves your attention today? What truly matters? Because the quality of your life will always depend on where your focus lives. In the next chapter, we'll go deeper into consistency, how to turn focused effort into daily progress, even when motivation fades and distractions try to pull you off course. Chapter 5. Consistency beats motivation. The secret to daily discipline. Motivation is an exciting feeling. It's that spark you get after watching an inspiring video, reading a powerful quote, or hearing someone's success story. For a few hours, you feel unstoppable. You make big plans, set new goals, and promise yourself you'll change your life. But then, the feeling fades. The excitement disappears. You wake up the next morning, and that burning fire you felt yesterday, it's gone. That's the problem with motivation. It's not meant to last. Motivation is a spark. It lights the fire, but it doesn't keep it burning. The real fuel that keeps you going is consistency. Most people wait for motivation to act. They say things like, "I'll start when I feel ready," or "I'll do it when I feel motivated," but that day rarely comes. The truth is, waiting for motivation is a trap. If you rely on feelings, you'll never build anything permanent. Success belongs to the people who act, even when they don't feel like it. Consistency is the bridge between goals and results. It's what turns a dream into reality, not in one big leap, but through small repeated steps every single day. Think about a drop of water falling on a stone. One drop means nothing. 10 drops still don't make a difference. But thousands of drops over time carve a hole through solid rock. That's the power of consistency. Quiet, patient, unstoppable progress. Let's take an example. Imagine you want to get fit. You work out intensely for 1 week, sweating, pushing yourself hard, and then stop for a month. What happens? Nothing. Your body doesn't change because effort without consistencies doesn't last. Now imagine doing just 20 minutes of exercise every day for 3 months. The effort seems small, but over time, your body transforms. That's the power of consistent action. It's not about intensity, it's about frequency. Consistency builds trust with yourself. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you strengthen your identity as someone who follows through. Every time you break that promise, you weaken it. People talk a lot about confidence, but real confidence comes from keeping small promises to yourself again and again. Think about brushing your teeth. You don't do it because you're motivated. You do it because it's a habit. You've trained yourself to do it automatically. That's what consistency feels like when it becomes part of you. It stops being something you have to do and becomes something you just do. Motivation is emotional. Consistency is logical. Motivation asks, do I feel like it? Consistency says, it's time. Let's go. Every successful person understands this difference. Athletes don't train because they always feel inspired. They train because it's part of their routine. Writers don't write only when they're inspired. They sit down and write every day, even when the words don't come easily. Musicians don't practice when they're in the mood. They practice because repetition builds mastery. Motivation gets you started. Consistency gets you results. Now you might be wondering, how do you stay consistent when motivation fades? How do you keep showing up when you're tired, busy, or uninspired? The answer lies in creating a system, not chasing a feeling. When you build systems, you remove the need to make decisions every day. You decide once, and then you follow the plan automatically. That's why routines are so powerful. A morning routine, a study routine, a work routine. These are your systems of success. They protect your focus, your time, and your energy. If you wake up every day and ask, do I feel like doing this today? You'll lose half the time. But if you wake up knowing, this is what I do every day, then you stop negotiating with yourself. That's consistency. Start small. Always start small. Pick one simple habit, something you can do even on your worst days. Maybe it's writing 1 paragraph, reading 5 pages, doing 10 push-ups, or studying for 15 minutes. It doesn't matter what it is, as long as you can do it consistently. Small wins matter. Each time you do something consistently, you build momentum. And momentum is everything. It's easier to keep going once you've started than to start again after stopping. Here's another secret. Consistency is less about time and more about identity. When you act consistently, you reinforce the identity of the person you want to become. Each repetition is a vote for your future self. When you exercise, you're not just working on your body, you're reinforcing the identity of a disciplined person. When you study daily, you're becoming a focused learner. When you show up early for work, you're building the identity of someone reliable. Every small action shapes who you are. So, the question isn't how do I stay motivated? The real question is, who do I want to become? Because once your identity shifts, your actions follow naturally. There will be days when you won't feel like doing anything. Days when everything feels slow, boring, or meaningless. But those are the days that matter most. Anyone can act when it's easy. True growth happens when you act despite the resistance. Discipline beats motivation every time. Motivation fades, but discipline grows stronger with every test. When you keep going despite difficulty, you train your mind to follow through no matter what. That's when consistency becomes part of who you are. Remember this simple rule. Don't break the chain. If you're building a habit, mark each day you complete it on a calendar. The goal isn't perfection, it's continuity. If you miss one day, it's okay. Just don't miss two. Momentum is fragile. Protect it. You'll notice something interesting once you stay consistent for a while. The results will start compounding. Like compound interest in a bank account, small daily actions multiply over time. You won't see much change at first, but after weeks and months, the progress becomes visible and unstoppable. Here's what most people don't realize. The gap between average and excellent isn't talent, it's consistency. The best aren't always the smartest or most gifted. They're simply the ones who keep showing up, even when others quit. It's easy to underestimate what you can achieve in a year of small, steady effort. But look around. Every great body, career, relationship, and success story was built on the same foundation, showing up daily, without fail. If you take one lesson from this chapter, let it be this: your dreams don't need more motivation, they need more consistency. Start today. Do something small, one thing that moves you closer to your goal. Don't aim for perfect days, aim for consistent days. One day, you'll look back and realize that those tiny, boring daily steps were the very things that built your greatest success. Because it's never the big moments that define you. It's the small actions you repeat, quietly, every single day. In the next chapter, we'll talk about the habit loop, how habits form, how to break bad ones, and how to rewire your brain to make success automatic. Chapter 6, The Habit Loop. How to build routines that stick. Habits are the invisible architecture of our lives. Every day, most of what we do isn't a conscious choice, it's a habit. From brushing our teeth in the morning to making coffee, checking messages, or driving a familiar route, habits run on autopilot. They shape our actions, our thoughts, and ultimately, our destiny. The power of habits is that they free your mind from decision-making. When you automate certain actions, you conserve mental energy for more important choices, but this is a double-edged sword. Habits can either propel you forward or hold you back. Good habits create success effortlessly. Bad habits create failure silently. This is where the concept of the habit loop becomes critical. Every habit works in 3 steps: cue, routine, and reward. First comes the cue, a trigger that tells your brain to start the behavior. It could be an external signal, like your alarm clock going off, or an internal one, like feeling stressed, bored, or tired. The cue activates your brain to go into autopilot mode. Second is the routine, the actual behavior or action. This is the habit itself, the part that repeats daily. It might be making your bed, going for a run, or scrolling through social media. Finally, there's the reward, the satisfaction, pleasure, or relief your brain receives after completing the routine. The reward tells your brain, this is worth repeating. Over time, your brain begins to crave the cue routine reward loop, and the habit solidifies. Understanding this loop is the key to building routines that stick. If you can manipulate cues, design better routines, and create meaningful rewards, you can transform your life. Let's break this down. Imagine someone trying to read more books. The cue might be finishing dinner. The routine is sitting down with a book for 15 minutes. The reward is the enjoyment, knowledge, or sense of accomplishment they feel afterward. Initially, it might feel small, but over time, the habit becomes automatic. They no longer have to think about reading. It just happens because the loop has been created. The same applies to breaking bad habits. To stop a negative behavior, you need to understand its loop. What triggers it? What routine follows? What reward does your brain crave? Once you identify these components, you can replace the routine with a positive one while keeping the same cue and reward. For example, if stress triggers mindless snacking, you could replace the routine with drinking a glass of water or taking a short walk. Your brain still gets relief, the reward, but without the negative impact of the old habit. Over time, your mind rewires itself. The most successful people in the world don't rely solely on willpower. They design their environment and habits for success. Habits make excellence automatic. They reduce the need for constant motivation and decision-making. When your routines are structured well, your actions naturally align with your goals. Let's talk about stacking habits, a technique that accelerates growth. Habit stacking is linking a new habit to an existing one. For instance, if you already brush your teeth every morning, you could stack a new habit like journaling for 2 minutes immediately afterward. Because the first habit is automatic, it becomes a reliable cue for the next one. Over time, you create a chain of positive habits that reinforce each other. Consistency in habit building is crucial. Habits take time to solidify. Research suggests anywhere from 21 days to 66 days, depending on complexity and individual differences. This is where patience and persistence matter. Small repeated actions eventually become effortless. The secret is not to overcomplicate your habits. Start small, keep them manageable, and focus on daily repetition. Rewards matter too. Your brain repeats actions that give pleasure or relief. When building a habit, make sure the reward is meaningful to you. If it's not satisfying, your brain won't reinforce the loop. Choose something that makes you feel good, like the pride of completing a task, a small treat, or the satisfaction of seeing your progress tracked over time. Environment also plays a role. If you want to cultivate good habits, make them easy to access. Place your workout clothes where you can see them. Keep healthy food ready and visible. Remove cues for bad habits. Out of sight, out of mind. Your surroundings shape your behavior more than sheer willpower ever could. Another secret of successful habit formation is identity-based habits. Instead of focusing on what you want to achieve, focus on who you want to become. Don't say, I want to run 5 miles. Say, I am a runner. Don't say, I want to write a book. Say, I am a writer. Every small habit reinforces this identity. Over time, the actions you take feel like a natural expression of who you are. Habit loops also work best when aligned with your goals and purpose. Random, meaningless routines will not bring long-term fulfillment. Each habit should be intentional. Ask yourself, does this action move me toward the person I want to be? If yes, it's worth repeating. If no, it's time to adjust. Let's illustrate this with an example. Imagine a professional wanting to improve productivity. They identify a habit loop. Morning coffee is the cue, checking social media is the routine, and the dopamine hit is the reward. To change this habit, they replace the routine with 20 minutes of focused planning or reading. The cue and reward stay the same, but the behavior now moves them closer to their goal. Over weeks, their productivity skyrockets because their daily habits are aligned with their purpose. Breaking habits is just as much about replacing them as stopping them. Willpower alone rarely works. Your brain craves rewards and routines. Redirect the energy. Create new loops that satisfy your brain while serving your goals. Over time, the old habits fade and the new ones dominate. The beauty of habit loops is that they make success predictable. You can't control every situation, but you can control your routines. You can decide what actions you will take daily, and those actions, repeated consistently, lead to predictable outcomes. Success is not magic, it's the natural result of well-designed habits. Finally, remember this: habits compound over time. Small, consistent routines, done daily, can produce results far beyond what you expect. 1 paragraph a day turns into a book. 10 minutes a day of learning turns into mastery. 5 push-ups a day turn into strength. Tiny actions, repeated over time, create exponential growth. Master your habit loops, and you'll master your life. You'll stop relying on fleeting motivation and start relying on your daily routines. You'll move with purpose, focus, and unstoppable momentum. And you'll realize that the key to big results is not dramatic effort, but small, consistent, intentional steps that eventually become automatic. Chapter 7: Overcoming Resistance. How to beat procrastination and keep moving forward. Have you ever sat down to start something important, a project, a workout, or even a small task, and suddenly found yourself checking your phone, making coffee, cleaning your desk, or doing anything except the thing you were supposed to do? That invisible force that pulls you away from action is called resistance. It's not laziness. It's not a lack of ambition. It's a built-in defense mechanism your brain uses to avoid discomfort, uncertainty, and effort. Resistance is powerful because it wears many disguises. It can look like fear, doubt, perfectionism, or even overthinking. It convinces you to delay what matters most by making you believe you're not ready yet. But here's the truth. You'll never feel ready. Readiness comes from starting, not from waiting. Every person chasing growth faces resistance. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't isn't talent, it's how they respond when resistance shows up. Winners feel resistance and move through it. Everyone else waits for it to disappear. Resistance usually appears right before something important. Have you noticed? The closer you get to something meaningful, writing that book, starting that business, changing your habits, the louder the resistance becomes. That's because resistance is a test. It shows up to see how badly you really want something. If you push through, it weakens. If you surrender, it grows stronger. Let's take a closer look at what procrastination really is. It's not about being lazy. It's about avoiding negative emotions. When a task feels overwhelming or uncertain, your brain tries to protect you by steering you toward comfort. It whispers, "You can do it later," and rewards you with short-term relief. But that relief comes at a cost, long-term frustration and regret. To overcome resistance, you must stop waiting for the right mood and start relying on the right method. Here's the first rule: start small. Your brain resists big things. It doesn't want to climb mountains, it just wants to take one step. So break tasks into the smallest possible actions. Don't say, "I'll write a book." Say, "I'll write one paragraph." Don't say, "I'll work out for an hour." Say, "I'll do 5 push-ups." Once you start, something magical happens. Momentum builds. That's the power of the first step. Motion defeats resistance. Psychologists call this the activation energy principle. Starting requires the most energy. Once you begin, the resistance fades. That's why starting is everything. The second rule: change your environment. Your surroundings influence your behavior more than motivation ever will. If your phone keeps distracting you, move it away. If your workspace feels chaotic, clean it. If social media drags your focus, log out. Create an environment that makes good choices easier and bad choices harder. The fewer decisions you have to make, the more energy you can devote to meaningful work. The third rule: use the 2-minute rule. If a task takes less than 2 minutes, do it immediately. For bigger tasks, promise yourself to work on them for just 2 minutes. Often you'll end up doing much more, because once you start, you realize it's not as hard as your brain made it seem. Resistance loves perfectionism. It convinces you that you need the perfect plan, the perfect timing, the perfect mindset. But perfection is an illusion. It's resistance wearing a suit. Perfectionism doesn't push you to do better. It keeps you from starting at all. Remember this: done is better than perfect. When resistance hits, don't fight it with force. Use awareness, recognize it, name it, and act anyway. When you call resistance out, it loses power. Say to yourself, "This is resistance, it's trying to stop me, but I'm in control." You'll find that the act of noticing it weakens its grip. Here's another powerful idea: schedule your work, not your feelings. Don't wait to feel inspired to act. Instead, set a time, show up, and start working, no matter what. Treat your goals like appointments you can't miss. Over time, this discipline trains your brain to take action automatically. Some people think they lack discipline, but what they really lack is structure. When your schedule decides for you, resistance has no room to negotiate. Let's talk about fear. One of resistance's greatest weapons. Fear tells you stories about what could go wrong. It exaggerates the difficulty, magnifies the risks, and makes failure look terrifying. But here's the secret. Fear shrinks when you move toward it. Action is the antidote to fear. Every time you act despite fear, you teach your brain that it's safe to move forward. The fear fades and your courage grows. It's like training a muscle. The more you face discomfort, the stronger you become. You must also learn to detach from outcomes. Resistance feeds on your obsession with results. When you focus too much on success or failure, your mind becomes anxious. Instead, focus on the process, showing up, doing the work, and improving daily. When you fall in love with the process, resistance has nowhere to live. Let's look at an example. Imagine a writer who sits down to work on a novel. Resistance whispers, "What if no one likes it? What if it's bad?" The writer feels the fear but starts typing anyway, one sentence, then one paragraph. Soon the flow begins. 2 hours later, the resistance is gone. That's how it always works. Action kills anxiety. Another strategy is to embrace discomfort. Growth lives on the other side of discomfort. Every time you step outside your comfort zone, you expand your boundaries. The tasks that once felt impossible eventually become easy. What used to scare you becomes normal. That's how transformation happens. One uncomfortable step at a time. One of the most practical ways to beat resistance is to create a pre-action ritual. A ritual signals your brain that it's time to work. For example, make a cup of tea, clear your desk, open your notebook, and start a timer. The ritual becomes your cue, helping you transition smoothly from hesitation to action. Over time, this routine becomes automatic, a signal to your mind that it's time to move. Accountability also helps. When you share your goals with others or work alongside someone, resistance loses its grip. Having someone expecting your progress creates external motivation that supports internal discipline. But here's something deeper. Resistance never disappears completely. It's part of being human. Every new level of growth will bring new resistance. The goal isn't to eliminate it, the goal is to recognize it and move anyway. Professionals feel resistance every day. They just don't let it make decisions for them. When you understand this, you stop blaming yourself. You realize resistance isn't a sign of weakness, it's a sign that you're on the edge of growth. If you weren't pushing boundaries, resistance wouldn't exist. So next time you feel that inner voice saying, "Not now, maybe later," smile. That's your sign that you're heading in the right direction. Then take the first small step, because action, not thought, is the cure. At the end of the day, success isn't about never feeling resistance. It's about developing the strength to move forward despite it. Those who win are not those who never doubt. They're the ones who act through doubt. So when resistance whispers, "You can't," respond with "Watch me." Because every time you move forward in the face of resistance, you take back your power. You build momentum. You create change. And that's how small steps turn into unstoppable progress. Chapter 8. The Power of Environment. Designing your surroundings for success. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine this. You wake up. The sun shines softly through your window. Your room smells fresh. Your desk is clear. Your notebook is open. And your mind feels light, ready to create, focus, and move forward. Now imagine the opposite. Cluttered space, noise, mess, distractions everywhere. Your phone lighting up every 5 seconds, and your energy already drained before you even begin. Which version do you think leads to success? The truth is simple but powerful. Your environment shapes your behavior more than your motivation does. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your surroundings. Many people think success is all about mindset, willpower, or talent. But here's the secret that most high achievers know. Your environment decides whether your good habits stick or slip away. In this chapter, we'll explore how your surroundings, physical, digital, and even social, influence your thoughts, emotions, and actions. And more importantly, how you can design your environment to make success inevitable. Let's start with something simple. Why environment matters more than motivation. Motivation is like a spark. It feels exciting, but it burns out fast. Environment is like oxygen. It keeps the spark alive. You can't depend on motivation every day because some mornings you'll wake up tired, stressed, or distracted. But if your environment supports your goals, it keeps you moving even when your motivation fades. For example, if you're trying to eat healthy but your kitchen is full of junk food, it doesn't matter how strong your willpower is, eventually your environment will win. On the other hand, if your fridge is stocked with fruits, vegetables, and clean water, it becomes easier to make good choices without effort. Your brain always takes the path of least resistance, so make that path lead toward your goals. Step 1. Simplify your space. Clutter is silent chaos. Every item around you competes for a piece of your attention. A messy room equals a messy mind. If you want mental clarity, start by clearing your space. Remove what you don't need. Keep only what adds value. When you walk into your workspace, it should feel calm, focused, and full of purpose. Steve Jobs once said, "Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication." He wasn't just talking about design, he was talking about focus. A clean environment tells your brain, this is a place for action. Try this experiment. Before starting your day, spend 5 minutes cleaning your workspace. Throw away distractions, close unnecessary tabs, and organize what matters. You'll be amazed how much sharper your mind feels. Step 2. Create visual cues for success. Your brain responds to what it sees. That means the things in your environment constantly influence your behavior, often without you realizing it. If you want to read more, keep a book on your desk instead of buried in a drawer. If you want to exercise, leave your workout clothes where you'll see them first thing in the morning. If you want to drink more water, keep a bottle on your table. Make the things that support your goals visible, and hide the things that distract you. This concept is called environmental design, and it's one of the most powerful ways to change habits without relying on motivation. Your environment should whisper, this is who you want to become. Step 3. Control your digital world. Your phone, laptop, and social media are part of your environment too, and for many people, they're the biggest source of distraction. Notifications are like little thieves, stealing your attention one buzz at a time. Every time you check your phone, your brain releases dopamine, a chemical that feels rewarding but drains your focus. To win this game, you must design your digital environment with intention. Turn off unnecessary notifications. Move distracting apps off your home screen. Use website blockers during work hours. Keep your phone out of reach when you're doing deep work. You don't need more discipline, you just need fewer distractions. Think of your attention as currency. Every time you open social media mindlessly, you're spending it. Make sure you're investing it wisely on things that build your future, not drain your present. Step 4. Design for energy. Your environment doesn't just affect your focus, it affects your energy too. Lighting, temperature, colors, and sounds all influence how you feel and perform. Natural light boosts your mood and productivity. A cool room keeps you alert. Green plants reduce stress and make your space feel alive. Even background music can shift your energy. Calm music for writing, upbeat music for workouts, silence for deep focus. So experiment. Create a setup that makes you feel energized the moment you walk in. Remember, small details matter. A comfortable chair, a clean desk, good lighting. These are not luxuries. They are tools for consistency. Step 5. Surround yourself with the right people. Your environment isn't just physical, it's social. The people you spend time with are like mirrors. They reflect who you are and who you're becoming. If you surround yourself with complainers, you'll start complaining. If you surround yourself with doers, you'll start doing. It's said that you become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So ask yourself, who are your 5? Spend more time around people who inspire you, challenge you, and make you better. Their energy will raise your standards. And if you don't have those people around you yet, find them online, in books or through communities that share your goals. You don't need to meet them in person to be influenced by their mindset. Step 6. Create zones of intention. Every place should have a purpose. When you assign clear meaning to your spaces, your brain automatically shifts modes. Work at your desk, relax in your bed, read in a quiet corner, exercise in one dedicated spot. When you mix them, like working in bed or scrolling on your phone in your workspace, your brain gets confused. It doesn't know when to focus or when to rest. But when your environment has structure, your mind learns to associate each space with a specific state of mind. So make your surroundings tell your brain what time it is: time to focus, time to create, or time to recharge. Step 7. Make success frictionless. In life, friction determines consistency. The harder something is to do, the less likely you'll do it. The easier it is, the more it becomes automatic. So ask yourself, how can you reduce friction for good habits and increase it for bad ones?
Want to read more? Keep a book within arm's reach.
Want to stop eating junk food? Don't buy it. Want to exercise more? Keep your shoes near the door. Your environment should make the right thing easy and the wrong thing difficult. When your surroundings support your goals, success becomes the default outcome. Let's look at a real-life story. There was a college student named Mia who struggled to study consistently. She had the best intentions, new notebooks, good plans, but every time she sat down, she got distracted. Her desk was cluttered, her phone kept buzzing, and she'd end up scrolling instead of studying. One day, she decided to completely redesign her environment. She cleaned her desk, removed her phone, organized her books, and added a small lamp for warm light. She also started playing instrumental music while studying. The result? Her focus doubled, not because she became more disciplined, but because her environment stopped working against her. That's how powerful this is. The right environment does half the work for you. The key idea here is, don't fight old habits, redesign the environment that feeds them. If you want to change your life, don't start with willpower. Start with your surroundings, your space, your tools, your people, your routines. They all shape your reality. When your environment aligns with your vision, every action feels smoother, lighter, and more natural. You stop forcing discipline and start living it. Your environment should be like an invisible hand pushing you towards success. So take a look around right now. Does your space reflect the person you want to become, or the person you used to be? Because if you change your surroundings will change you. Chapter 9. The Magic of Consistency. Why repetition builds greatness. If you look closely at any great person, an athlete, a writer, a musician, a leader, you'll notice one thing they all have in common. It's not talent. It's not luck. It's not even opportunity. It's consistency. Consistency is what separates dreamers from doers, starters from finishers, and amateurs from masters. It's the quiet force behind every big success, the invisible power that transforms small actions into lasting results. Anyone can be motivated for a day. Anyone can work hard for a week, but the ones who win, who rise above, who change their lives, are the ones who show up every single day, even when they don't feel like it. Consistency is boring, but it's also beautiful. It's the daily grind that builds greatness one step at a time. Let's begin with a simple truth. Repetition builds results. You can't run a marathon after one jog. You can't master an instrument after one lesson. You can't develop confidence after one speech. Growth is not a one-time event. It's a process, a rhythm, a pattern. When you repeat small actions every day, you are teaching your brain, your body, and your emotions what matters. You are literally rewiring your identity. Every time you take a step toward your goal, you send your brain a message. This is who I am now. You're no longer someone trying to improve, you're someone who is improving. The secret to lasting change is not intensity, it's consistency. Most people fail not because they lack effort, but because they lack patience. They want instant results. They want change overnight. But success is never sudden. It's earned quietly through daily repetition. Think of a bamboo tree. For the first few years after planting, it shows no visible growth above the ground. You water it, nurture it, and wait. But nothing seems to happen. Then suddenly, in the 5th year, it shoots up over 80 feet in just a few weeks. Did it grow overnight? No. It was growing all along, underground, building strong roots to support its future height. Your goals are like that bamboo tree. The early stages don't always show results. You may work hard and see no progress. You may doubt yourself. But beneath the surface, growth is happening. Skills are forming, habits are solidifying, character is strengthening. Then one day, everything you've built quietly starts to rise. That's the magic of consistency. Consistency also creates momentum, one of the most powerful forces in human performance. Momentum is what happens when your daily actions start to build on each other. The first few days are the hardest, but once you cross that initial resistance, everything becomes easier. Imagine pushing a heavy train. At first, it feels impossible to move. But once the wheels start rolling, they keep moving with less effort. That's what consistency does. It transforms hard beginnings into effortless motion. This is why many people fail at their goals. They stop before momentum can take over. They quit right before the magic happens. Success always comes later than you expect. But once it arrives, it multiplies faster than you imagine. Let's talk about why people struggle to stay consistent and how to fix it. One major reason is unrealistic expectations. People start too big. They set massive goals, like going to the gym every day for 2 hours, writing 10 pages a day, or meditating for an hour. When they can't maintain that intensity, they quit, thinking they've failed. But you don't need massive effort. You need small, repeatable effort. Start small, stay steady, grow naturally. James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits, says, "You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. Your system is your daily rhythm, the small things you do consistently, not occasionally. If you want to write a book, write 1 paragraph a day. If you want to get fit, do 1 set of push-ups every morning. If you want to learn a skill, practice for 10 minutes. Do it so small that it's impossible to fail." Because consistency is not about doing more, it's about doing something regularly enough that it becomes automatic. Another secret of consistency is tracking progress. What gets measured gets improved. When you track your actions, no matter how small, you create visible proof of your progress. It motivates you to keep going. Use a notebook, app, or calendar. Every time you complete your daily habit, mark it down. That mark becomes a symbol of your commitment. It's a promise you kept to yourself. After a few days, you'll start to see a streak. That streak becomes precious. You won't want to break it. This is called the "don't break the chain" method, made famous by comedian Jerry Seinfeld. He committed to writing jokes every day and marked an X on the calendar each time he did. His only rule was don't break the chain. It doesn't matter how small your action is. What matters is that you did it. Every X strengthens your identity and builds confidence. Consistency also builds trust in yourself. When you consistently follow through on what you said you'd do, you stop doubting yourself. You develop self-respect. Many people struggle with self-belief, not because they're weak, but because they've broken too many promises to themselves. They say they'll start tomorrow, and don't. They say they'll change and quit. Over time, their mind stops believing their own words. But when you act consistently, Even in tiny ways, you rebuild that trust. You begin to believe again that you can do what you set out to do. And when you believe, everything becomes easier. There's another lesson in consistency. It reveals your priorities. What you do daily is what truly matters to you. You can talk all day about goals, dreams, and passion, but your actions show the truth. If you spend your days learning, creating, and improving, your life will reflect that. If you spend your days distracted, scrolling, or waiting, your life will reflect that too. Consistency is like a mirror that never lies. Every small action is a vote for the person you want to become. So ask yourself, who are you voting for today? Let's explore a real-life story. There was a man named Ethan who wanted to become a writer. He dreamed of publishing books, but he never seemed to have time. He worked full-time, had a family, and by the end of the day, he was exhausted. One morning, he decided to try something new. Instead of waiting for the perfect time, he promised himself to write just one paragraph every day, no matter what. Some days, he wrote more. Some days, only a few lines. But he never missed a day. After 1 year, he had written over 100,000 words, more than enough for a novel. Ethan didn't become a writer overnight. He became one paragraph at a time. That's the beauty of consistency. It turns effort into identity. Now here's something most people don't realize. Consistency beats talent. Talent gives you a head start, but consistency determines the finish line. Talent is potential. Consistency is execution. Every talented person who failed to reach greatness lacked consistency. Every ordinary person who achieved greatness mastered it. Michael Jordan didn't become the greatest basketball player because of talent alone. He became great because he practiced harder than anyone else, even on days when no one was watching. Stephen King didn't become a best-selling author overnight. He wrote every single day, even on holidays. Serena Williams didn't win championships by training when she felt good. She trained because it was who she was. Consistency turns talent into excellence. But let's be honest. Being consistent isn't always fun. There will be days when you feel tired, uninspired, or unmotivated. Days when progress feels invisible. That's when you must remember this. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be present. Even doing a small version of your habit on hard days counts. If you can't work out for an hour, move for 5 minutes. If you can't write a page, write a sentence. If you can't meditate for 10 minutes, breathe for 1. Doing something, anything, keeps the momentum alive, and momentum, not perfection, is what creates progress. Consistency is also contagious. When people see you show up every day, they start to respect you, they get inspired by you. And sometimes, that quiet consistency changes not just your life, but the lives of those around you. Your example becomes your message. Before we move on, remember this formula for success. Small steps cause consistency, time, unstoppable progress. Small steps give you direction. Consistency keeps you moving. Time multiplies your results. It may not happen fast, but it will happen. Success is not about doing more. It's about doing enough, long enough, for the results to appear. Keep watering your bamboo tree. Keep pushing the train. Keep taking the small steps. Because one day, when you least expect it, you'll look back and realize you've come so far, not because you moved fast, but because you never stopped moving. Chapter 10. Discipline over motivation. How to stay driven when you don't feel like it. Everyone loves motivation. We search for it, chase it, and wait for it, like it's some magic spark that will suddenly make everything easy. But here's the truth most people never want to hear. Motivation is unreliable. Discipline is what changes your life. Motivation comes and goes. It's emotional, unpredictable, and temporary. Some days you feel unstoppable. Other days you don't want to move. If you depend on motivation, your progress will always rise and fall like a wave. Discipline, on the other hand, is stable. It doesn't care how you feel. It's a decision, a commitment you make to yourself, whether you're inspired or exhausted. Discipline is doing what needs to be done, especially when you don't feel like it. And that's the difference between people who wish for success and those who build it. Think of motivation as the spark that starts the fire, but discipline is the wood that keeps it burning. Every time you act with discipline, you add another log to that fire. Every day you show up, even without motivation, your fire grows stronger, steadier, and harder to extinguish. Motivation might get you started, but only discipline will get you finished. Let's get clear on what discipline really is. Discipline is not punishment. It's not about being harsh with yourself or living without joy. Discipline is self-respect. It's saying my future matters more than my comfort. It's choosing long-term fulfillment over short-term pleasure. It's doing what you promised yourself, even when no one else will ever know. Discipline is freedom, because it frees you from being a slave to your moods and emotions. When you're disciplined, you don't wait to feel like doing something. You do it because it's part of who you are.
Here's the hard truth.
Most people fail because they wait to feel ready. They say, I'll start when I feel motivated. But that day rarely comes. If you only act when you feel good, you'll never build momentum. Winners act no matter how they feel. The secret is to reverse the formula. Don't wait for motivation to act. Act first, and motivation will follow. Action creates emotion. Movement generates motivation. The first few minutes are always the hardest. But once you start, your brain wakes up, your energy rises, and suddenly, what felt impossible becomes possible. Let's look at how discipline works in the real world. A writer doesn't finish a book because they're inspired every day. They finish it because they sit down and write, especially on the days when they'd rather do anything else. An athlete doesn't train because it's fun every time. They train because it's their standard. A business owner doesn't show up just on good days. They show up because they know consistency is what builds trust and results. That's discipline. It's not glamorous, it's not exciting, but it's powerful. Discipline is quiet. It doesn't shout. It whispers, get up, do it again. Now, how do you actually build discipline? You don't build it by forcing yourself into perfection. You build it through structure, repetition, and purpose. Let's break that down. Structure. You need systems, not willpower. Create a routine that supports your goals. Make it harder to fail and easier to succeed. If you want to work out in the morning, lay your clothes out the night before. If you want to write, set a specific time each day. If you want to focus, put your phone in another room. You don't rise to the level of motivation. You rise to the level of your environment and systems. 2. Repetition. Discipline is a muscle. The more you train it, the stronger it gets. Every time you follow through on a commitment, you strengthen your mental muscle. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you build confidence. Start small, 5 minutes of focus. One tiny habit, one single win, and build from there. The hardest part is starting. The easiest part is continuing once you've started. Don't underestimate the power of small daily wins. They're the foundation of unstoppable discipline. 3. Purpose. Discipline without purpose feels like punishment. But when you have a strong why, discipline feels like devotion. If you know why you're doing something, it becomes easier to keep doing it, even when it's hard. Ask yourself, why does this goal matter to me? Who will I become if I stay consistent? What kind of life am I building through this discipline? When your why is clear, the how becomes easier. Purpose turns effort into meaning. Let's talk about a common myth. People think discipline means never resting. That's wrong. True discipline includes rest. It's about balance, not burnout. Rest is a strategy, not weakness. It gives your body recovery, your mind clarity, and your energy a reset. But rest doesn't mean quitting. It means pausing with intention, so you can come back stronger. Here's another secret. Discipline makes life easier, not harder. At first it feels uncomfortable. You have to push against laziness, distractions, and excuses. But once you make discipline a habit, it becomes automatic. You stop wasting time debating what to do. You simply do it. You stop overthinking. You act. And suddenly, what once felt difficult becomes part of your rhythm. It's like brushing your teeth. You don't need motivation to do it. It's just part of who you are. That's the real goal, to make discipline part of your identity. Let's look at an example. There was a man named Carlos who wanted to lose weight. Every January, he started strong, motivated, excited, determined. But by February, he'd quit. 1 year, he decided to focus on discipline instead of motivation. He made a simple rule: no matter what, he'd move his body for 10 minutes every morning. Some days he did more, some days less, but he never skipped. After a few months, his 10 minutes turned into 30, then into full workouts. His mindset changed. He stopped saying, "I'll try," and started saying, "I will." A year later, he'd lost weight, built confidence, and most importantly, earned self-respect. Not because of motivation, because of discipline. Here's the mindset shift that changes everything. Stop asking, "Do I feel like it?" Start asking, "What would a disciplined version of me do right now?" When you think like that, your emotions stop controlling you. Your values do. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you prove to yourself that you're in control. Let's face it, life will test your discipline. There will be early mornings when you want to stay in bed. There will be projects that feel endless. There will be failures that make you question everything. That's when discipline matters most, when everything inside you says stop, and you whisper back, keep going. Because every time you push through, you build resilience. You become mentally tougher. You train your mind to obey you, not your emotions. That's real power. Now there's one more piece of the puzzle: self-compassion. Discipline is not about being perfect. It's about being persistent. You will mess up. You will skip a day. You will lose focus sometimes. That doesn't mean you failed. It means you're human. What matters is that you come back. Always come back. Discipline is not about never falling. It's about always getting up. Let's end with this. Motivation is a feeling. Discipline is a decision. Feelings fade. Decisions last. Discipline is the bridge between your goals and your reality. It's the difference between wishing for success and living it. When you stop waiting to feel ready and start acting on discipline, you unlock a different level of life, one where your word means something, your habits build your destiny, and your future is shaped by daily actions, not passing emotions. So tomorrow, when your alarm rings and your mind whispers, "Just 5 more minutes," remember this. You don't need to feel like it. You just need to do it. Because every act of discipline is an act of self-love, a promise to your future self that you'll show up no matter what. Chapter 11. The Compound Effect. How tiny wins multiply into massive success. Every great success story looks obvious in hindsight. The athlete standing with the gold medal, the business owner celebrating a $1 million milestone, the author signing books for a line of fans. But what no one sees, what's invisible to the world, are the thousands of tiny, consistent actions that built up to that moment. That's the secret of the compound effect, the quiet force that turns small habits into massive results. It's not magic, it's math, mixed with time and discipline. Every small choice you make either takes you closer to your goals or further away. And over time, those small choices compound, just like money in a bank, until they create a result that looks like overnight success. But it was never overnight. It was built day by day, choice by choice, step by step. When people think of success, they imagine big breakthroughs, the one viral moment, the one big deal, the one lucky chance. But the truth: success is rarely one big thing. It's 1,000 little things done right, consistently. A writer who writes 300 words a day might not notice much change after a week, but in a year they'll have a full-length book. An investor who saves $10 a day might not feel rich at first, but with time and interest, those tiny deposits grow into a life-changing sum. A person who chooses to eat healthy, just one meal a day, might not see a difference in a week, but in a few months, their energy, confidence, and body transform. That's the compound effect, the silent power of persistence. Here's how it works. Every small decision you make is like adding a drop of water into a bucket. One drop doesn't matter, but when you keep adding drops, one after another, the bucket starts to fill, and one day, without realizing it, it overflows. That's how results appear. Slowly, then suddenly. You might not see progress day to day, but progress is happening underneath, quietly building momentum. Consistency may be boring, but it's unbeatable. Most people never experience the compound effect because they quit too soon. They start something, don't see instant results, and give up. They plant the seed, but don't water it long enough to see it grow. Imagine a farmer who plants a seed and digs it up every few days to check if it's growing. Ridiculous, right? Yet that's what most people do with their goals. They give up before the roots have a chance to take hold. Growth takes time. Progress takes patience. And the compound effect rewards those who can stick through the quiet phase, the phase when it feels like nothing's working. Because that's when everything is working. Beneath the surface. Think about this. If you improved yourself by just 1% every day, you'd be 37 times better after 1 year. That's not theory. It's math. The formula is simple. 1 point. Small wins add up, tiny progress multiplies. And the same is true in reverse. If you get just 1% worse each day, the decline compounds too. That's why small habits matter. Every choice you make either compounds for you or against you. You're never standing still. You're either getting better or getting worse. Let's see this in real life. There were two friends, Leo and Max. Both started working at the same company, same position, same salary. Leo decided to make tiny improvements, reading 10 pages of a book daily, saving $5 more each week, and taking a 15-minute walk after work. Max decided it wasn't worth the effort. 10 pages won't change my life, he said. $5 won't make me rich. A year later, nothing seemed different. Both earned about the same. Both looked the same. But 3 years later, Leo had read 30 books, gained knowledge, confidence, and leadership skills. He was promoted. His savings grew into investments. His health improved. Max, on the other hand, stayed in the same place, same job, same habits, same frustrations. The difference wasn't talent, it wasn't luck, it was the compound effect in action. Small choices, big difference. The compound effect teaches us something powerful. You don't need to change your life overnight, you just need to make tiny positive choices and repeat them long enough. Because consistency turns average actions into extraordinary results. Now, let's break down how to use the compound effect in your own life. Step 1. Start small. But start. Don't wait for the perfect plan. Begin with something you can maintain. Want to read more? Start with 1 page a day. Want to get fit? Start with 5 minutes of movement. Want to save money? Start with 1 less coffee a week. It's not about intensity. It's about consistency. Small is sustainable. Small builds trust with yourself. Step 2. Track your progress. What gets measured gets improved. Keep a simple log. Write down your daily habits, your exercise, your spending, your reading, your focus. Tracking creates awareness. And awareness creates control. When you can see your small wins stacking up, it keeps you going through the slow days. Step 3. Stay patient through the dip. Every worthwhile goal has a dip. A period where results seem invisible. That's where most people quit. But remember, growth is not linear. It's exponential. Like compound interest, Your results start small and accelerate over time. So the key is to keep showing up long enough to let your efforts multiply. Patience is the fuel that powers the compound effect. Step 4. Build momentum. Momentum is magic. Once you've built it, everything gets easier. A train takes enormous energy to start moving, but once it's rolling, it can smash through walls. Your habits work the same way. The first few weeks are tough, but once you've built consistency, you move with flow. That's why you must protect your momentum at all costs. Don't break the chain. Even on your worst days, do something, anything to keep the streak alive. Because every small action keeps your momentum alive, and momentum compounds into greatness. Step 5. Let time be your ally, not your enemy. Time can either work for you or against you. If you waste it, it becomes your greatest enemy. If you invest it, it becomes your greatest partner. The compound effect is the reward for those who respect time. Every day you make a small, smart choice, time multiplies your effort. You won't always see results fast, but time never forgets the seeds you plant. Here's the key mindset shift. Stop chasing big wins, start stacking small wins. Big wins are unpredictable, small wins are guaranteed. And when small wins compound, they become unstoppable. Every time you choose progress over perfection, every time you choose action over excuses, you're adding another brick to the wall of success. Keep stacking those bricks. One day you'll look back and realize you've built something extraordinary. Let's look at another real-life lesson. Have you heard of Warren Buffett? He's one of the wealthiest people in history, not because of luck, but because of the compound effect. He started investing as a kid. For decades he made small, smart decisions, reinvesting, learning, being patient. Today, over 90% of his wealth came after his 60th birthday. That's the power of compounding. It rewards patience more than brilliance. You don't need to be the smartest or fastest, just the most consistent. So, how do you apply this idea to your personal growth? Think of every small action as a vote for your future. When you choose to learn instead of scroll, that's a vote. When you choose to save instead of spend, that's a vote. When you choose to exercise instead of make excuses, that's a vote. Every day, you're casting votes for the person you want to become. The more votes you cast, the stronger your new identity becomes. And one day, the results will be so clear that people will call it luck. But you'll know it wasn't luck. It was compound effort. Now a warning, the compound effect works both ways. If you make small negative choices consistently, they'll compound too. Skipping one workout doesn't ruin you, but skipping for months creates habits of laziness. One unhealthy meal won't matter, but repeated daily it compounds into poor health. A few wasted minutes scrolling won't hurt, but hours every day compound into years lost. That's why awareness matters. Your daily choices are either building your dream or burying it. Let's end this chapter with a truth most people overlook. The compound effect doesn't care if you believe in it. It's always working quietly, constantly, fairly. The question is it working for you or against you? If you feed it with discipline, patience and small daily wins, it will turn your ordinary efforts into extraordinary results. But if you feed it with excuses, inconsistency and neglect, it will slowly eat away at your potential. The choice is yours, every single day. So don't chase overnight success, chase daily progress. Because success isn't built in one massive leap. It's built in 1,000 quiet steps that no one sees. Keep showing up, keep stacking small wins. Because one day, you'll wake up to a life that feels suddenly successful, and you'll smile, knowing it wasn't sudden at all. It was the compound effect, your reward for never giving up on the small things. Chapter 12, Identity and Transformation. Becoming the person your goals require. Every lasting change begins with identity. You can change your actions for a few days, even a few weeks, but if your identity, the way you see yourself, doesn't change, you'll always return to old habits. This is why most people struggle to sustain success. They focus on what they want to achieve, not who they need to become. You can't build a new life with the same old mindset. To create lasting transformation, you must align your habits, thoughts, and beliefs with the identity of the person who already has what you want. Think of your identity as the foundation of a house. Your habits are the walls. Your goals are the furniture inside. If the foundation is weak, the house will crumble, no matter how beautiful the furniture looks. So before you chase bigger goals, you must strengthen your foundation. You must ask, who am I becoming through this process? When most people set goals, they start with the outcome. They say, I want to lose 20 pounds, or I want to make more money, or I want to be more confident. But these are results, not roots. The deeper transformation happens when you ask, what kind of person would naturally achieve those results? For example, instead of saying, I want to lose weight, say, I am someone who values health. Instead of, I want to save money, say, I am someone who manages money wisely. Instead of, I want to write a book, say, I am a writer. When you shift your identity first, your actions follow. Because people act in alignment with who they believe they are. Here's the truth. Your brain always wants to stay consistent with your identity, even if that identity is holding you back. If you believe I'm lazy, you'll act in ways that confirm it. If you believe I'm not disciplined, you'll find evidence to prove it. If you believe I can't focus, you'll subconsciously sabotage your own progress. Your subconscious mind always seeks confirmation. That's why changing your identity isn't just motivational talk, it's neuroscience. When you begin to believe something new about yourself, your brain literally rewires. It starts creating pathways that make new behaviors easier. So how do you change your identity? You do it through proof. Every action you take is a vote for the person you want to become. When you wake up early, you cast a vote for being disciplined. When you read a book, you cast a vote for being a learner. When you resist distractions, you cast a vote for being focused. You don't need 100% confidence to start, just one vote at a time. The more votes you cast, the stronger your new identity becomes. Transformation is not a one-time event. It's a series of small votes in the same direction. Think of your identity like wet cement. Every habit, every choice, every moment of discipline leaves an imprint. At first, it's soft, easy to shape. But over time, the cement hardens. Your new identity becomes who you are,